This is the Daily Dispatch podcast with your business correspondent, Ted Keenan.
Today, Dispatch Live is talking to
Leigh Carter, GM of Sales Digital, as well as Integration at Arena Group Holdings.
Leigh. During your recent presentation at the Blue Lagoon Hotel in East London, which you gave to several of the companies that advertise with Daily Dispatch and Dispatch Live, you mentioned several trends, and the audience looked quite blank, especially the more senior executives there. Did this concern you at all?
It obviously does concern me, but it doesn't surprise me. We've been looking at these new trends for a while, and the uptake from most businesses, specifically in the sort of small to medium range, has been slow. I do think that that's just part of change, and I think it will come. But it does. I think it's interesting. Number one, that we had such a good turnout, so we had a lot of clients and businesses come through to listen to the talk, which means that the intent is there, the desire to learn is there. But the digital environment has been a little bit fraught with acronyms. It's been difficult to understand. It's been sort of shrouded in mystery, and I think a lot of people are still a little bit anxious and cautious to venture out. There have been in the news, and I'm sure in the media, you'd have seen a lot of talk about ad fraud, about bots, about the uncertainty around social media. So I wouldn't blame clients and advertisers, marketers for being a little bit more cautious. But the time now is to just upskill yourself as much as possible, because you can't ignore anymore the fact that all of the audiences have migrated and are migrating to the digital environment, and not understanding and not knowing the key nuances in digital marketing is going to put your business at risk in the long run.
Talking of buzzwords, you used the word unique quite a few times, and people, again, looked a little bit nonplussed by that. What is unique in Arena terms?
Okay, so unique is a really important measurement when it comes to digital marketing, and it's what sets digital marketing. It sets it apart from other traditional marketing attributes, because we can measure exactly who's coming in and out and who's seeing the advert, or your marketing piece, your asset. A unique is somebody that's only counted once over a specific time period. And the unique means that this is a sort of a unique set of eyeballs, and we don't count them more than once. If you're looking at traffic over a month period, say, you wouldn't count that person or that eyeball or that IP address more than once, which means that when you say, I've delivered 100,000 uniques in terms of your ad or your delivery, it means that we're not counting duplicates, which is a really, really key understanding point when you look at digital marketing. Because obviously that speaks to reach and frequency. When you look at the Arena framework, when you look at the size of the Arena digital audiences, we have over 10 million uniques come through every single month to read our various different publications in the digital environment. This is important because then we can we take that and extrapolate that, and then we look at reach and how many times they come in. But the basis of any digital marketing is how many uniques a certain publication delivers. It's an unduplicated audience.
In the old days, the Ruperts and Stellenbosch Farmers Winery had a meeting, and the Anton Rupert, the man who founded it, said that he spends a fortune on advertising, and he knows that about half of it works. He said, but he would like to get a better understanding on which half. With your unique system, it means that marketers can get an absolute measure of what is working. How will that affect budgets?
It's true that you can measure and see a whole lot more in the digital environment, but it's strange because marketing is still a very psychological thing, and a lot of the brand the affinity stuff is still not measurable. Print still works. Print is still impactful, even though you can't measure, all the way through as granularly as you can with digital, it's still important. So is sponsorship. So are all the other marketing tools that sort of bring your customers into the funnel. And at the end, when the decision comes to buy your product or not, all of those factors and different media contribute to that. So digital marketing isn't a one-stop shop, and it doesn't do all the jobs for you. But one of the nice things about it is that it is very measurable, and you can hold your media owner to account. A lot of ad budgets are moving into the digital space. The rates are lower. You can see and you can track, especially from a procurement perspective. You can imagine that's very gratifying and reassuring for somebody sitting in a procurement department, having to be able to see, listen, we know for sure that 100,000 people saw this piece of material asset, and then of course from a buying perspective you can then pay for exactly what you receive. But it's not a silver bullet. You still need to do all the other hard work around the other different media. But definitely we're seeing a lot of ad budgets moving into the digital space because it is so measurable.
The aspect of execs needing to understand exactly what's going on is obviously important. What is also important is the choice that they make. There's so much on offer at the moment across the advertising and marketing range. Can we see a scene where executives are a little bit like little kids in a sweet shop and want a little handful of everything? And how do they counter this problem?
Yeah, I mean, it is a massive issue when it comes to marketing at the moment. The fragmentation is catastrophic, actually, because the narrative that's a big narrative that's in the market at the moment is about attention, and how do you measure attention regardless of medium, and because your audiences, you must understand, are also their attention is equally as fragmented. They have so much choice. They have everything at their fingertips. They're on their mobile phones. Mass media was wonderful because you could place your ad in 3 places, and that was the only place people could go for information. Of course, now that's not true. It is easy to try and want to do all of it. Unfortunately, reality is that you can't. Marketing budgets just don't allow for it. There's just too much choice. So at the end, and it comes down to basics again. 100 years ago, you would be doing the same thing, is understanding your brand, know and define your target market and where they're sitting, and how they're using the media and what media they're using. And then you just focus on those 2 or 3 platforms that can make an impact, and hopefully you'll get some organic reach and you'll get some talkability, and you can go from there. The key thing is to measure attribution properly. If you're using an agency, understand that they're doing exactly what you need to know, that they're doing what you want them to do. But also, and I think we shouldn't leave this piece out, it's one of the most important pieces and contributes majorly to success, is your creative, your brand message. The creative piece, if it's not impactful, if it doesn't send a message, then of course it doesn't matter what media platform you use, it's not going to work. Start with creative and your target market, and then the media discussion is a lot easier.
During your talk, you focused quite a lot on creators, as we've just done now. One of the issues that you spoke about was that a lot of people are reading marketing material on cell phones now. And this has changed in a number of ways, because to get attention on a cell phone-sized screen is difficult. You can't have people diving off yachts into the Mediterranean. It's got to be a lot smaller, a lot more compact, and a fast message. How's this affecting the creative brands?
It's a wonderful question, because I think as creatives and as media owners, we still are looking at our content in a desktop scenario, laptop or a full screen. And that's just not the case. We know that the bulk of our inventory, or the traffic that comes through, is coming through on mobile. Some of our publications, as large as 90% of our traffic is coming through on mobile. So the customer experience, or the user experience, is far different from the one that you're looking at on a desktop. And of course, the creative needs to change, because you've only got a certain amount of restricted inventory that you deliver, and people are scrolling top to bottom. So yes, it's opened up a whole new space for different ad technology, different ways of catching your attention. we've got stickies, we've got interstitials, we've got a whole different range of how we deliver beautiful video, HD video, that doesn't impact data into your screen so that it actually sort of captures your attention. And you'll see a lot of media owners will now be moving into a space where you'll watch something for 15 seconds prior to the content, or you'll have to subscribe to view the content without that. A lot of the research that we are doing globally, and we can see coming through globally, is that if you're not paying for content, users are quite happy to do that value exchange where they understand that reading the content for free is actually being supported or funded by advertisers looking for your attention. So there's that whole quid pro quo in that sort of reward-based advertising outside of subscriptions that you'll probably see a whole lot more of. But yes, it has meant that we've had to go back to the drawing board again and really make sure that we offer our advertisers and marketers something really impactful and viewable in the mobile space, because that's where everybody is.
While you take a trip back to the drawing board, can you also tell us a little bit about the war with Google and why this war with Google should affect South African advertisers and marketers and consumers?
Of course, this is my favorite topic. I could speak to you for about 3 hours on this. This is something that has been brewing for a decade, and it's now reached really, really apocalyptic proportions, if I can say. Google and Facebook are very, very large, massive global players. They are now too big to fail, and they have huge power in the global media space. When you think about how free press works and operates, it has done largely based on the support and financing, essentially, of advertisers and marketers in the regions and in the countries with which they operate. And this has funded a huge range of really important media, specifically news media. We've all seen with state capture how important that was. Outside of the judiciary, the media was the sort of the last bastion of protection for us as the public to get the news and the story out, and we can't afford to let that lapse and go anywhere. Unfortunately, when you look at what Google and Facebook offer as digital marketing platforms and where our marketing budgets are going, 80% of all the digital marketing money spent in this country at the moment is going to Google and Facebook. They pay no tax. They don't invest in this country. The money goes straight offshore. They don't invest in content. They don't pay people. They don't invest in our creative industry. And of course, what that's looking and what, as print and the readership and the circulations and the support for print as a marketing platform decline, it means that we have less and less money to pay our journalists to get this news out and to invest and innovate in high-impact platforms and content that will sort of secure the audiences that we have in South Africa. So it's a massive issue. We are campaigning as a media group, and of course all media houses are, to try and get some policy change, to try and rally government, to lobby, to make sure that we put things in place that either force these big global players to invest back into the country and support us in this regard, or we need to look at more responsible buying practices, and the onus will lie on marketers to look at where they're buying and spending their money in a responsible manner.
The changes, and there are many that you've mentioned, are going to force companies to have a serious look at their own advertising budgets, their advertising strategies and that. Where will we be in, say, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. There's so much on the horizon, and it's changing so quickly. You saw with COVID how that just exacerbated and put everything on fast track in terms of this digital transformation and movement of audiences. I think it's just going to get more and more mobile. We're just going to be doing everything on the screen. I think the fight for subscriptions and eyeballs is going to get more and more fragmented. We're going to see quite a lot of policy change coming down. We're going to see a lot of media owners fail, unfortunately. If nothing changes, we're going to have a lot less as content from our local media owners, and we'll see a lot more from the bigger players that are able to support themselves. We hopefully will see data being less of an issue as that gets opened, and the monopolies hopefully will have to start being more, competitive in the market. We have seen in the last month new spectrum being opened, so that all the different telcos and the providers of data can start looking at more ways of getting cheaper data into our communities, and we'll just see that uptick get more and more and larger and larger. So if you aren't looking at mobile marketing at the moment, if you're not looking at a mobile content strategy, I would say you should do that absolutely as a point of urgency. It's only going to get more important. When you look at the energy crisis, when you look at different hybrid ways of working, people are going to get more and more digitally ensconced, and I think that's where marketers are going to need to focus.
Our motor industry has done wonders with their export of vehicles, etc. There is also talk that the future of manufacturing in South Africa is going up into Africa. So Africa is actually the solution. How would marketing campaigns work across such a variety of languages, or are we pretty skilled at it because we have our own variety of languages?
No, I wouldn't say we're skilled at it. It's still a massive challenge for brands to try and create an impactful marketing strategy that goes across the continent. And there's so many nuances, there's so many dialects. Every single community has a different way of speaking, of laughing, of resonating. So it's still massively important to understand and have somebody on the ground to guide you in terms of how your brand message lands. How it's easy to offend people, get it wrong. There are different currencies, media currencies in the continent. It's completely disparate. It's not a single organism that works well together. Digital, it makes it a little bit easier because obviously you've got network buys and you can see where the audiences are coming through, and to deliver that asset and that content is a lot more measurable, and you have a fair amount of control. You can imagine if you're trying to do radio or print, it's a little bit more difficult. But you're right, even as a group, Arena Holdings is looking at the rest of Africa and seeing it as a massive opportunity for us to look at a continental media space where we can look at operating as a hub, and then obviously making it easier for markets to reach those by offering them something that's comprehensive and a one-stop shop. I think ROA and the rest of Africa is massively interesting, but it's fraught with a lot of unknown and quite a lot of dangers in terms of marketing.
Leigh Carter, thank you very much for making the time to speak to Dispatch Live, despite you being in Johannesburg and apparently Eskom creating a massive traffic jam for you. So thank you again for your time. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Ted, and thank you so much for everybody in East London for making me feel so welcome.